Welcome everybody. In today's video I am going to discuss the lost civilization of giants, which seem to have been erased from our history. The history of giants is truly amazing. Their presence on planet Earth seems like something from a Celtic fairy tale, because the version of history we have been presented with in this 3D reality is very limited, deliberately mundane, and a condensed perception of actuality, which serves the purposes that the elites have created. However, the ancient giants certainly did exist in remote areas. In most of the Hollywood movies, the giants are portrayed as incarnations of evil, but this was not always the case. There was once a time when human beings lived alongside the giants, but the working relationships became distorted for many reasons, and then anger, hatred developed between the humans and the giants. Many stories about the giants have been mentioned by the Melanesians of the Solomon Islands. The Solomon Islands are in the southwestern Pacific Ocean and is believed to be a geographic remnant of the landmass known as the Lemurian Continent. The communities of Melanesians who live there have known for generations that a civilization of giants lived below Mount Popocatepetl and the surrounding areas. There are very extensive subterranean passages below Mount Popocatepetl, which link together and extend beneath the coastlines of Guadalcanal and other areas. The Solomon Islands were named by the European explorer Alvaro de Mendana Nero in 1568, who sailed from Lima in Peru and landed on the Santa Isabel Island, which he encountered the Melanesians. He named the place the Solomon Islands after King Solomon because he believed subterranean gold deposits were present there. Many of the locals commonly talk of the mountain and the forest giants. The research director of the Solomon Anthropological Expedition Trust Board Incorporated, Marius Borean, became involved with investigating the presence of the Solomon Island giants. Marius, an Australian national who worked as a helicopter pilot, then married a lady who was a Solomon Islander. After living on the Solomon Islands for a few months, Marius Borean began to hear many stories from the local Melanesians about the mountain giants and the forest giants. Some of the Solomon Island giants apparently stood 10 feet tall. Further stories revealed that many of the giants were even larger, with some who were said to be 14 to 16 feet tall. The communities of the Guadalcanal giants, as Marius describes them, seemingly have very long brown or reddish hair, protruding double eyebrows, bulging reddish eyeballs, flat noses, pale complexions, and wide gaping mouth facial features. In the book written by Marius Borean called The Solomon Islands Mystery, he speaks of the story of Mango Bosimet, who was kidnapped by giants around 50 years ago and spent 25 years living with them. Apparently there was a giant who had taken Mango Bosimet as a wife and made her pregnant. Unbelievably, this is just one of many women this has happened to. A mind-blowing account from the US Air Force Colonel William Faye Woodard, who was stationed at Area 51 in south and western Nevada from 1971 to 1982. During his service, he visited the Hollow Earth, which he explained to be 6 times larger than the surface of planet Earth and 820 miles below it. Upon his arrival at Area 51, the Colonel was given profound insights concerning the vast passageways beneath Area 51 and the Great Basin Desert. On his arrival at the entrance to Area 51, Colonel William Faye Woodard was immediately made aware of the huge passageways and floor spaces of the US Air Force installation. Levels 1 to 15 were constructed by the US Air Force and the US Energy Department, but levels 16 to 27 were already there, which means they were prehistoric passageways that were likely constructed by the Lemurians or the Atlanteans. Whilst his induction and training was given, Colonel William Faye Woodard was introduced to many of the shuttle operators that constantly transported personnel through the subterranean passageways. They were known as the Gigantes Antiguos, the ancient giants, and were employed in the 4 deep underground military bases, the DUMBs, of southeastern Nevada. They were highly cognitive white giants that stood 13 to 14 feet in height. Every one of the white giants were blue-eyed and blonde hair and wore metallic-looking silverish coloured bodysuits and boots. Further explanations were given to the Colonel William Faye Woodard concerning the subterranean tunnels that were apparently built by a species of ancient giants who existed on planet Earth for over 250,000 years. The giants had once inhabited the Atlantean continent just before the remnants of the Atlantean islands were destroyed around 10,000 BC, and the ancient giants escaped for safety reasons. Colonel William Faye Woodard also stated the tunnel shuttles used on the subterranean railways vary from 15 to 400 metres in length. They travel faster than the speed of sound and only take around 10 minutes to get to the hollow earth. Within 5 to 6 minutes, an individual can arrive at the Crystal Kingdom inside planet Earth. The metallic substances used to construct the outside sheeting for the trains was recovered from the Roswell incident in 1947. The tunnel shuttles run on electromagnetic potency using the geomagnetic ley lines and the vortices of the planet Earth. The shuttle operators are all giants that were 12 to 14 feet in height and look like Caucasian humans. They were given scheduled daily tasks in the deep underground military bases. Whether you believe this or not, this is a detailed story given by a colonel who was a 3rd Field Officer employed by the US Air Force. The different mudfloods of Tartaria began around January 1740 and then again during October 1834 and then at June 1892. By April 1894, many geographic changes had occurred and meant the civilization of Tartaria had largely vanished from history. The communities of Tartarian giants which survived had to find a new location to reside in, and therefore found refuge in the Scandinavian mountains, which extend across most of Norway, Sweden and northwestern Finland, and the Altai Mountains and other high altitude locations in Central and Eastern Asia. After the destruction of Tartaria, certain genetic mutations seemingly occurred because of chemical pollution and toxicity which the mudfloods had caused. Hence the legends of the trolls and the troller, the monstrous spirits, most likely arose from the genetic changes of the descendants whose lineage came from the Tartarian giants. As the lands and rivers became more intoxicated and polluted with chemicals, the giants found it difficult to adapt to these kinds of environments. And as they were breatharians who lived near to the geomagnetic ley lines, over time the ley lines nodes became more distorted as they were deliberately tampered with to create energetic inversions. This affected the DNA and visual appearance of some of the giants as their genetics changed. Certain geographic locations in the Scandinavian mountains became remote sanctuaries for these mutated giants, who became known as the trolls and ogres. Although we have been conditioned to believe these stories are imaginary, they cannot be discarded because there are too many stories to explain. The American Indians have many stories about their interactions with the white giants of North America. The Choctaw and the Navajo Indians speak of the white giant who consistently attacked the American Indian tribes and destroyed their homelands and spiritual territories. Wherefore the Native Americans often fought the white giants as they were so intimidating and nasty, as most of the giants obviously didn't like humans. The various white giants were described standing 10 to 12 feet tall. Such huge individuals inhabited a vast area that extended from Western Canada to New Mexico. The giants were very well known to be brave, resourceful, and warlike. The Northern Paiute Indians from western Nevada mention how they warred against the ferocious red-haired white giants known as the Sikash, the sedge eaters. We must remember that such conflicts between the white giants and humans also happened in many areas over America. This is just a fraction of stories, and I will be explaining a lot more in the future episodes of this series, but we cannot deny that giants existed or even still exist. The high elite have gone to great levels to erase and suppress this information from the public domain, as it completely alters their version of history. Thank you for watching, everybody. A lot more to come on the history of giants. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next week.